Hey there, everybody. Welcome back, my global thespians, aka the good crazy. Welcome back to The Kevin E, which is the channel, Q-Tips, which is the content, and that is the business of show business, the pursuit of the business of acting. I am Kevin E. West, veteran television actor, and of course, the founder of the only award-winning business of show business, business of acting organization, the Actors Network, that's ever been created. And that goes back to 1991. How you doing? And I say that because if you're new here, I want you to understand that I've been doing this a long time. And I don't just mean my book or discussing the business of show business. I'm talking about the fact that I also did all of that while building a long-time career. You can go to kevinewest.com. You can go to IMDb. Please feel free. No worries whatsoever. You will discover everything you need to discover about my background, along with just listening to some of the videos that are here. So please do that. We are up to the point today. The video today is about what I call the first four. And if you'll go back to the Start Here video, make sure you do that. Watch all the way through because they're all interconnected. But the first four I bring up because they tend to be the first four things that we ever really discuss with regards to the business of show business. And it's a very important distinction because I will say this a lot, and this is not against you, it's not against anybody. Like I say, I sometimes frustrate folks, and I'm not necessarily for everyone, but I'm always going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you how it really goes 99.9% of the time. The truth is we're the most undereducated professional community in the world, bar none. We just are. Trust me on that, we are. From especially the business side, because it's show business, right? 50-50. We like to spend 99% of our time focused on that over there, known as a show. We really don't want to spend much time on the business of the business, and therefore it gets truncated and or avoided and or just simply dismissed. But what I do know is that whether you're doing this at 8 years old, 18 years old, or coming into this at 48 years old, the four most common things that we get presented with and or discuss or consider needing to deal with are very simply the craft, which is the talent in the show that I don't spend a lot of time talking about here, getting pictures, and then representation, which can be agent or manager, and any kind of agent or manager, because there's lots of different kinds, okay? And then, of course, casting. Those are the four common subjects, that's why I call them the first four, or more notably for me, the four common areas of industry, something you'll hear me reference a lot, that we are usually told about, given advice on. You've heard me make a couple of comments on the way in the videos about the same 10 or 15 bullet points that people sort of point to discuss the business of show business, and I have more like 1,000 bullet points. But those four are always going to be a part of those 10 or 15. The craft, getting pictures, representation, and casting. So what I'm doing here in the content today, as I'm going to do across time, is I want to slowly bring these things into you in a certain order. The key to these four things, which is why I'm going to do an individual video coming right after this on each one of them, breaking them down. The key to them is to not just to brushstroke them in all of these generalizations. This is the challenge for this profession. Yes, I understand, fully understand, that a good 66 to 75 or 80% of a lot of subjects have real similarities in them for all of us as performers. But the further you get into the business of show business, the further you get into these four, you're going to discover that there are commonly 20 to 25%, about a quarter of the time, the stuff that's going to happen with these common first four are things that wind up being individual to you, either based on how you think, what your background is, what your focus and what you're trying to go towards, and the scenario in which you find it. And that's why I want to address these now before we get into the deep details of breaking them down, which is going to come later in some of the videos, okay? And just understand, I'm just going to give you a quick thought on these in this one, and then I'm going to break them down right after this, okay? But the craft is just commonly misunderstood. We think of it in terms of just the show part and the performance part, but we do have to be clear, guys. It is very personal and unique to us. There are lots of different types of techniques out there to perform. There's lots of different ways to, as the old song goes, get your motor running. Yeah, that's what it is, man. We have a motor. We have an engine. We have fuel from our hearts. And we have instincts and directives from our gut. This is what we got. And so the most important thing to me about craft is you eventually have to find somebody who really does it for you. This is why when people ask that same old question, who's the best acting coach? There isn't one. There isn't a best, man. There's a best for you, and I'm even going to add to it, there's a best for you at this moment in time in your life, because you may evolve, and there's also different types of coaches. So let's bear that in mind as we get into the first four. Now, when it comes to pictures, let me make sure I'm clear. The picture conversation, we like to make very simple. Now, we all know it's important. I know you know it's important. But we like to kind of bring getting pictures done down to, well, I'm going to find a photographer, and then I'm going to look at my wardrobe, and if I have a representative, I'm going to chat with them about what kind of looks I want, and theatrical versus commercial. And then I'm going to go shoot them, and I'm going to show them to you. And in today's world, anywhere in the globe, my global thespians, we're going to put them up on some sort of electronic portal, such as eTalenta in Western Europe, or in the UK, or here in Los Angeles, and or the United States, being related to, at the moment, Casting Frontier, or Casting Networks, or Actors Access, whatever it may be. This is how much we sometimes think about the picture process. 5, 6 steps. I'm telling you it's 100. So I'm going to break that down for you in one of the next 2 videos, because there's more to it than just those 5 things. And then, of course, you have representation. And representation becomes very wonky in that there are big representatives, there are small representatives, there are boutique representatives. Some have clout, some don't. There are different types of representation. Of course, union versus non-union in the United States of America, and however it plays out in your country. You have to deal with how you define legitimate representation, and we do that in this country with them being franchised by SAG-AFTRA, which is Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. That's our union. Or the ATA, which is the Association of Talent Agents. These are ways that we help define, and the representation part of our career is just what I will always call, and you will hear me say this, I just call it the process. You know, it's like human resources to a degree. It's just, that's the process. They're like an ongoing headhunter you have who submits you for jobs. So that's representatives. And then, of course, as we all know, there's casting and the casting directors. Now, that profession has evolved in certain ways over the last 3 or 4 decades. But of course, those are the individuals who basically filter. They're the guard at the gate. If you know the executive producer or producer, then they'll still maybe have you go through casting, but you can at least skip casting initially, because casting is like human resources. And if you know the vice president of the department, then you don't necessarily have to start in human resources. But most of us throughout our careers start with the front door, which is the casting directors. So understanding more about them and what they do is imperative to you pursuing your career. And I don't mean in some of the simplistic ways you may have heard about to this point, because there are different types of them. They cast different mediums. And then there's also the reality of them having what I would define as limited control. I know their title is casting directors, but this profession globally, you guys, has changed. The economy has changed. So that's what I call the first 4. It's a setup video to then discussing the next 4 videos, each one of them in order. Okay? So that's what we have today. Go to kevinewest.com, subscribe, like, tell your friends, tell your enemies of your friends. Follow me on Instagram and right here, and we'll see you real soon.